Today we are going to unpack the story of an object you probably use every single day, the bag. And believe me, it's not just a bag. It's a 40,000-year-old story of survival, identity, and some absolutely genius engineering.
Okay, let's start with a problem that you've definitely had. You're out, maybe you've gathered some food, some tools, or you're just leaving the grocery store. Your hands are full and you've still got to get where you're going. So what do? This isn't just some modern annoyance, you know?
That really simple, universal problem, that is the starting point for pretty much everything humans have ever made. The spoon, the wheel, the house, it all starts right there. It's the spark for all design.
Right, because the story of the bag doesn't kick off with fashion or trying to show off your status. No, it begins with something much more fundamental, pure, undeniable necessity. Think about it. Every single object our ancestors made had to earn its keep by being useful enough to carry around.
So take a look at this timeline. We've found physical evidence of shoes from tens of thousands of years ago, but not bags? Why is that? Well, it's pretty simple. Bags were made of things like leather, fiber, and bark, stuff that just rots away. And the key thing to get here is that an absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. I mean, come on, if our ancestors were smart enough to cover their feet, you can bet they were also figuring out ways to carry their stuff.
And when we finally do get our first concrete proof, it is absolutely mind-blowing. Meet Ötzi the Iceman. He lived 5,300 years ago, and get this, he wasn't just carrying one bag. He was carrying an entire purpose-built system. He had a belt pouch for his quick access tools, a backpack with a proper frame to carry heavy stuff, a special canister made of birch bark just for carrying fire embers, a quiver, a woven mat. This is seriously sophisticated, specialized design.
And what this shows us is something, well, it's pretty profound. Good design logic is timeless. The exact same questions that Ötzi's gear answered are the same questions a product designer at Apple or Google asks today. It just goes to show you the core principles of what makes a design great, they just don't change.
So, the bag gets its start as a basic tool for survival. But as societies get more and more complex, it picks up a second, really powerful job. It stops just holding things, and it starts saying things.
In ancient Egypt, you can see this happening very clearly. A priest's leather pouch, for instance, might have painted symbols on it. A noble's bag would be made of much finer materials. What you carried and what it was made from started to signal exactly who you were and where you stood in the social pecking order.
But then you look to West Africa, and this whole idea reaches an absolutely incredible level of sophistication. Bags made from bogel-and-fini, or mud cloth, weren't just decorated for fun. The patterns were basically a language. They encoded specific information about your identity, your community, your status. The bag was literally a text that people in the know could read.
And we see this exact same principle at work over in the Americas with the Arhuaco mochila. Now, to an outsider, it's a beautiful woven bag. But to someone from that culture, these patterns are like an identity document, carrying deep spiritual and social information. Okay, so we've seen what a bag can communicate. Now let's dive into how they were actually made. We're talking about some serious genius-level engineering and craft that history books, frankly, just tend to overlook. This here is the Roman loculus. It's a soldier's satchel. Now, full disclosure, the source material is careful to label this next part as a credible theory, not 100% settled history. But oh man, it is such a brilliant designer's insight into how this ancient object might have worked.
For a long time, historians kind of looked at those straps and thought, oh, neat decoration. But a designer sees physics. So look at how this works. As the bag gets heavier, right, it pulls down. But those diagonal straps, they pull up on the flap, cinching it tighter. It's a self-tightening tension system. The heavier your load, the more secure the bag is. That is not decoration, my friends. That is brilliant engineering.
And this right here is a really crucial correction to the typical story of design history we all learn. We tend to focus on Europe, but this object, it's called the cordled bag, is the oldest surviving structured handbag in the world. And it was made in the 1300s in what is now Iraq, showcasing a level of technical skill that was just incredible.
Okay, now we hit a huge moment. A complete fork in the road in the 18th century. And it's a change driven entirely by fashion. One that completely reinvents the bag and creates a divide that, well, it still exists today.
Check out this split. Around the 1670s, men's fashion adds pockets to their coats. And just like that, they pretty much stopped carrying external bags.
Then, over a century later, women's dresses become so slim and sleek that the internal pockets they used to have are now impossible. The pocket disappears. So suddenly, they need an external bag, the reticule. The idea of the handbag as a uniquely female object isn't some fact of nature. It is the direct result of a fashion decision about where to put pockets.
All right, let's jump way forward into the modern era. Because the 20th century is where the bag goes through another massive transformation, from a necessary accessory into a global cultural icon. And yeah, eventually into a financial asset.
And it happens really fast. You've got Gucci starting his company, applying centuries of Florentine craft. Then in 1955, you have Coco Chanel doing something revolutionary. She puts a shoulder strap on a formal bag to free up a woman's hands. And then there's that famous story from 1984, a chance encounter on an airplane that leads to the most legendary bag in the world.
Chanel's 2.55 bag is just a masterclass in how to weave a story into an object. The design wasn't random at all. Every single detail, the color of the lining, a secret zippered pocket, the chain strap, was a direct reference to her own life. From growing up in an orphanage to her love affairs, the story truly became a part of the object itself.
And this brings us all the way to the bag as a pure asset. The Hermes Birkin has become so valuable, so incredibly scarce, that it has literally outperformed gold as an investment. We're talking over $300,000 at auction for a single bag. We have come a very long way from a simple pouch for carrying tools, haven't we?
So after this incredible 40,000-year journey, what are the big lessons here? What has this whole story been trying to teach us about what makes for truly great design?
Well, it really boils down to 4 timeless lessons that apply to everything from Ötzi's survival kit to Chanel's purse. 1. The container has to follow the content. Function always comes first. 2. Be honest with your materials. The right stuff for the right job will always win. 3. Quality of craft is your best brand strategy. Excellence is the most durable marketing there is. And 4. The story is part of the object. The best things have true stories that are worth telling.
Which, of course, brings this whole thing back to you. From Ötzi's little pouch to a modern Birkin, every single bag is a container for 2 things: our stuff and our stories. So the next time you pick up your bag, think about that 40,000-year history and just ask yourself, what story are you telling?